Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on today's webcast. We're just waiting for a couple more people to join, so we'll be kicking off within the next couple of minutes. Good morning, everybody. My name's Dave Archbold. I'm one of the Managed Services Sales Specialists here at Visual. Thank you for joining us on today's Azure webcast. Joining me on the call today, we have Steve Hodson. He's one of our technical consultants. The webcast, little bit of guidance beforehand. If anybody's got any questions throughout the webcast today, please feel free to use the instant message function. Or if you're dialed into the call and you want to ask any questions, please feel free to send an email through to inquiries@risual.com. For the purpose of the webcast and to eliminate any background noise, we've actually muted everybody's phones. We will be opening this up at the end. So again, if anybody's got any questions towards the end of the webcast, please feel free to ask. We're also going to be recording today's session. So if any of your colleagues, you think they may find it useful and haven't been able to attend today, please feel free to forward it on to anybody else. Or if you want to go back and kind of catch up on the information that is being delivered today, then please feel free to do so within your own time. Now, in terms of the agenda for today's webcast, I'm going to do some brief introductions and some welcomes. Simon's then going to take us through Azure, the art of the possible. Steve's then going to have a look at cloud strategy and cloud identity, also IaaS, and then I'll look at supportability, and we will open it up for any questions and answers at the end. So first of all, just to give you a little bit of an overview on Visual for those who perhaps haven't worked with us in the past. Visual are a completely Microsoft-centric company. So we provide consultancy and managed services around the Microsoft technology stack. Now this can be both on-premise and cloud-based. And in order for Visual to do this, we split the business up into three distinct areas. The first of which is our premium technical consultancy. Now, Visual are quite unique in as much as we cover the whole Microsoft technology stack. We're one of the only pure play Microsoft partners within the market, and although we cover the breadth of Microsoft technologies, we specialize in each different area. So our consultants are split into different practices. The first practice is business productivity. So this can cover things from CRM through to SharePoint, kind of collaboration tools, and all of our consultants, if they work within the business productivity practice, that's what they specialize in. So you won't have a CRM consultant looking at CRM one day and say Link or Exchange the next. It's completely separate. So Visual as an organization, they cover the breadth of Microsoft technologies. Our consultants specialize in their own individual areas. So we've got business productivity, unified comms and messaging, which is Link and Exchange. We've then got systems management, which is all about desktop transformation. So it could be system center, things like that would sit within this practice. And then identity and access perimeter. So this is really looking at Forefront Identity Manager, Active Directory Federation Services, things like that would sit in Identity and Access Perimeter. And the only kind of exception to this is Office 365, which dips into different practices. Now, as we covered the breadth of technologies, it may be the case that some of our customers want to work with us, hopefully, on really big transformational projects. And this is where the business consultancy arm of our business sits. So this is where we've got engagement managers who can take you through kind of business value assurance propositions. So looking at how you can get the most out of your Microsoft investment. They will also help to project and program manage some of the bigger projects. So if you were looking at, I don't know, SharePoint, Exchange, Link, and System Center, we're pulling consultants from lots of different areas, and so that we can manage the project in the best possible manner, we normally love to employ an engagement manager or a project manager to make sure we've got the right people in the right place at the right time, and really help you make the transformations that you want to from Microsoft technologies. Now, although we love helping people set up new Microsoft technologies and them getting the most out of their investment, we believe it's absolutely critical that if you're introducing new technologies, you need to be able to support them as well. So we've got our managed services and support business, and we can offer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week support on either a proactive or reactive basis. And really, I'll go into some more details on the support options available later on. But as I say, it's critical, we believe, that if you're introducing great new technologies, that you've got a plan to take it from the initial design right the way through to monitoring and optimizing it when once it's been installed. Now, as I say, we've talked about the different practices that Visual have got. One of the key messages for us is how IT can be at the heart of positive change within an organisation. So to this end, we've got 3 distinct propositions that we take out to market. The first one looks at how do you as an organisation engage with your citizens, your customers, your patients, if it's NHS and public sector, and this is where our connected business strategy lies. So it looks at making sure that you've got the right information at the right time and in the right place and on the right devices to be able to engage with your customers in the way that you want and the way that they want to be engaged with. So now, once we've kind of helped an organisation to look at how they're going to engage and created a connected business strategy, it's really, really important that your staff are empowered to be able to deliver this message out, and I've got the tools that they need to be able to engage with customers in the way that they want to. To this end, we've got an end user computing strategy, and this really looks at, do your staff have the right devices to be able to work in the way that they want to? Are they going to be empowered to deliver the messages that you as an organisation want to get across and how you want to connect with your end customers? Now, it's great if you've got a really powerful engagement strategy and your workforce are empowered, but it's equally important that the infrastructure that you've got sat underneath this is correct and is scalable and you're able to support the business. So we've got an optimized service vision strategy, and this looks at making sure that your back-end infrastructure is set up in the right way to enable you to engage with your customers, to empower your workforce, and they all tie in very, very nicely together. It's really looking at IT as a whole, looking at how IT can be at the heart of positive change within an organisation and how it can really make a difference in driving the way that you work forward. Now, what I'm going to do is pass across to Simon, who will take you through Azure Art of the Possible. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Good. Okay.
Can anyone hear me? Did you get that? Simon, I don't know if you can hear, but we've lost your audio feed at the moment.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're coming through now.
Ah, right, okay, cool, brilliant. Where did you get up to?
You just introducing yourself, so if you want to start from the beginning again, if you can.
Okay.
Cheers, thank you.
So, sorry everybody. Right, so Simon Pearson from Microsoft. I am an Azure Partner Technology Strategist, and basically I want to talk to you today about Microsoft Azure and why it's the way forward in terms of enterprise class computing. So let me start at the beginning and let me talk about why cloud computing and why Microsoft Azure in the first place. Well, first of all, Azure offers a huge degree of elasticity around a computer and an IT infrastructure. You can quickly provision servers, storage, services, be it things like SharePoint, BizTalk, Unix, Oracle databases, most of other third-party software items. You quickly provision these in the Azure environment. And what makes it special
Sorry, everyone. It looks like Simon's just dropped out of the call. If you can just bear with us a couple of minutes, hopefully he'll be rejoining very, very shortly.
Can you hear me all again now?
You're back again now, Simon.
Brilliant. Okay, I don't know what happened there. I said I got kicked off. Right. Okay. So, what Azure offers this huge degree of elasticity. Allows you as an IT organization to scale up quickly when you need an IT environment when you hit peak demand, and to scale down when you don't require that IT resource. And the beauty of this is around price. You only pay in Microsoft Azure for what you use. It's a pay-as-you-go model. So you pay per minute. Now, if you stop and think about that, why is that different? And the answer is, in a traditional on-premise environment, you would be paying for, if you wanted to put a server up there or a virtual machine in your own on-premise data center, you would have to buy that machine, install it, and have it up and running in your data center 24 hours by 7. With Microsoft Azure, you can create that virtual machine in a matter of minutes, which I encourage you all to go and play with the Azure portal, which we'll talk about later. But you can create a virtual machine in a matter of minutes and use that machine just for example, 8 hours a day if it was in a test and dev environment, or if you only used it on Monday to Friday, 9 till 6, you can bring on that machine and use it and then shut it down at the end of your work period. So it's a huge saving. You're just paying for the minute there. So instead of 24 hours by 24 by 7 for the server, you're paying for just the 8 hours you use. There's also the advantages in terms of scale. You can scale a complete IT infrastructure into Azure. You can scale networking into Azure. You can move your whole IT into that platform, into cloud, and save yourself a huge amount of money. So basically, if you're running a data center at the moment, moving into Azure is as easy as almost cutting and pasting. If it's on a Hyper-V virtual machine, it's as easy as cutting and pasting that from your data center and putting it into the Azure platform. If you're running virtual machines on VMware, we can still move those virtual machines into Azure. We just have to run it through an algorithm, but it's a fairly straightforward process. And when you go and create that virtual machine on the Azure platform, it's a simple matter of picking from a list of predefined machine sizes according to your computing need. So it can go from anything from a one-core low-end memory, low-end disk machine, such as an A0, to our biggest machine now, which has just been announced, which is 500 gigabytes of memory, 32 cores, and an 800 terabyte disk at the top end. And obviously, according to that list of those 20 or so machines you choose from, The more powerful machine you choose, the more you pay on a per usage basis and a pay as you go way. All the data and the machines and the software that you use in Azure as well is backed up automatically. It's as standard, it's backed up into the local data center for the UK, which is Dublin, and 3 copies are stored in different areas of that data center. Or you can choose geo-replication, where another 3 copies are stored in the next adjacent data center in Amsterdam. So it's a great solution as well for low-end, cheap backup. And this slide just summarizes basically our best price. Microsoft will price match any price that our competitors offer, such as AWS, so will always be the cheapest. And if you have an enterprise agreement with Microsoft, we can either offer you further discounts on the back of those low prices. So what differentiates Microsoft? Well, we see it as 3 things. Microsoft offers hybrid cloud. It offers a high degree of flexibility through not only offering infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, but also platform as a service, PaaS. And also Microsoft are an IT company. We'd like to think that we're trusted. We'd like to think that compared to people like AWS, we have a lot of experience in the IT industry. I'm not going to diss Amazon Web Services because I like Amazon. They've saved me many times at Christmas and birthdays, and they're a good company. But I would argue that from an IT perspective, Microsoft provides a stronger, more trusted environment. Hybrid cloud, for those who don't know, is basically where you can integrate and seamlessly blend your on-premise data center with a public cloud offering such as Microsoft Azure. And we're the only provider of hyperscale cloud to offer a hybrid cloud solution. In terms of the flexibility, the infrastructure and the platform as a service, the infrastructure as a service is basically your virtual machines, your storage running in the cloud. But if you want to do something more advanced than that, and you want to do things like, for example, development, testing of software and server tools, things where you don't want to start worrying about the operating system layer, the server installation on top of that, you can pre-build and pre-install set images into Microsoft Azure and create a platform where you can just quickly run and do a test and development environment that you can start up and shut down very quickly on Microsoft Azure. And to give some ideas, just finally, around hybrid cloud and the kind of cost savings you can save, if you look at storage, for example, if you would store your storage on premise, you'd be paying in average $7 per gigabyte per month. But if you move that storage, for example, to Azure, that cost goes down to just 3 cents per gigabyte per month. So it's a huge saving that I'm sure you can see the advantages around Azure on. So this is a slide just showing our global presence on the data centers. Microsoft's making a multi-billion dollar investment in its data center environment.
Simon, sorry to bother you. I don't think the slides are moving along correctly. I'm still on our best prices at the moment.
Really? Okay. Do
you want me to take over as presenter and move them along for you, see if that makes any difference?
How's that now? What are you looking at now?
It's caught up again now.
Okay, strange, okay. Give you a slide just to go back one. Hold on, come on. There we go. Okay, so that was hybrid, flexible, and trusted partner, but we covered it off anyway. So the slide you see here is a map of our data centers. We've got 17 data centers worldwide. There's 2 coming on next month in Australia. It represents a multi-billion pound investment by Microsoft. Each of these data centers, for example, the one in Dublin, you can fit 2 jumbo jets inside it. We're talking 320,000 servers sitting in that one data center. All the data centers are linked in, and you as an Azure user have the flexibility to be able to go in and choose where you want your data hosted. If it's a global presence or a European presence, you can choose the data centers around in that region, so you get a quicker speed of access to data and a lower latency. And if you have customers in an area where there aren't any data centers, we have 124 endpoint cache nodes around the world. And what these are is they're local cache stores stored locally where the most used data on Azure sits, so that as a user, you're sitting near that cache node and you get a much quicker experience. To talk about the kind of experience you get in Azure with latency, we're talking about a 15 millisecond latency on storage, which is huge, 50,000 IOPS per second. So really high-end performance, really fast networking. And to give you an idea in terms of how we compete to the competition, our data centers, we have twice as many and twice the investment as AWS, Amazon Web Services, and we have 5 times the investment and the infrastructure as Google. And it's something that Microsoft is putting huge amounts of money in because this will support Microsoft's business going forward. Okay, so I hope you can all see that new slide now. So this is the kind of offerings or the services you'll see into Microsoft Azure, and it fits into 4 buckets. If you think of it as kind of CDNA, C for compute, D for data services, N for networking, and A for applications. And what you'll find is that it's not just one service you'll pick on here, but it's a list of, it's kind of a menu of different services to choose and to suit your IT infrastructure or your architecture that you're proposing. I haven't got time to go through each of the services, but I really encourage you to go to azure.microsoft.com and look at services on there, and you'll see each of the 65 services listed individually, and these range from things like big data analysis using Hadoop to running Oracle databases or SAP or SQL in the cloud to identity management to the things that you'd associate with traditional public cloud such as storage, database and virtual machines as well. So again, please go away and have a look at the different services that Azure offers. Okay. Can you all hear me still?
Yep, you're still coming through, Simon. Yep.
Sorry, that dropped off. Okay. So finally, this slide, which we'll distribute out with the slide deck, has a list of key resources in Azure. There are blogs, there's everything around pricing calculators on there, so you can go away, look at the size of machine you need, and put them into a calculator model and see the savings that Azure can bring you. There are case studies of, we've got 126 case studies on the site at the moment. People such as EasyJet, for example, who've moved their entire line of business from a traditional on-premise infrastructure to a cloud infrastructure. So every time, for example, you fly EasyJet, your online booking and all the ticketing at the airport is all done now live via the cloud. Other people are up there, such as Paul Smith, who've done great work around moving their entire retail base, for example, onto Azure. So there's loads of great case studies there to show the security and the resilience and the cost savings around Azure. There's also training kits on there and places where you can go and ask questions. So I really encourage you to go away and look at the resources. And as a kind of a final call to action, I would encourage you to go to azure.microsoft.com and go to the top right hand side of that screen, and you'll see there's a link there called Portal, and you can sign up and actually use the Azure Portal for free for a month, and we'll give you £125 of free usage to go and try and put virtual machines or run some services or install a SharePoint server farm, for example, which normally would take 2 months and in Azure can take less than 5 minutes. I encourage you to go away and try that. Use that £125 of free money. If you've got an MSDN subscription, a Microsoft Developer Network subscription, you get free usage as well on Azure per month. So my call to action for you is to go away and use it and become familiar of the great things that Azure can offer. Okay, and I'm going to hand back over to Steve now.
Thanks, Simon. Good morning, everyone. So my name's Steve Hodson. I'm a consultant with Visual. I'm going to look at three particular areas of cloud computing, basically, and I'm going to run through a few slides. And at the end of those slide decks, I'll just hop into a quick demo and just show you around the Azure portal and show you some of the features that are in there. So we're going to start off with a cloud strategy, and basically. What's the traditional relationship of most organizations with the cloud at the moment? So typically what we're seeing is people are having separate identities between internal systems and internet services. And, you might have your users or your customers using things like Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive and things like that. And there's no infrastructure integration between that. It's just they have a separate logon for OneDrive or for Google Drive for these services that are offered through the internet. So, and the thing is that some of these services are being consumed in isolation by the users. So some users are using them. Whether they should be using them or not is a different question. But and it's not decided by the business whether people are using them, because the users just go out and use it, and whether they should or not is a different question. But that brings us on to the fact that if they are using Dropbox and Google Drive and OneDrive, the public version of OneDrive, you have limited control over that, because you can put things into place on your internal infrastructure, sort of group policies to block these things, but users invariably will find a way around doing things like that. So the idea is that by moving to a cloud integrated solution, you can sort of offer those types of services out to users and do that. So yeah, so one of the reasons for changing to a cloud-based solution. So traditional IT is expensive. As Simon alluded to earlier, if you want to provision servers, you've got to buy the servers, you've got to get them in, you've got to rack them, you've got a lot of configuration to do, and that's just a fraction of the costs. There's then the ongoing running costs of running all those servers, and keeping them up to date and keeping them managed, etc. IT typically needs to be upgraded every 3 to 5 years, so you buy a bunch of servers now, 3 to 5 years time, you're looking at upgrading those servers, and that's all got to be planned in, managed and financed. So consumption-based IT spend is more attractive nowadays. So that the fact that it is a pay-as-you-go service, you're only going to pay for what you actually use, and you can apart from around where you maybe have peak demands, you can usually estimate what that's going to be if you're going to run a particular set of VMs up in the cloud for a set period of time. You'll know what that cost is, or you can calculate that cost using some of the self-service calculators that Microsoft have got online. And the users want more control and choice of their IT services. So the fact that you can offer them, cloud-based storage from wherever they are and things like that within Azure, is going to be of benefit to them. And the fact that businesses need to be agile and adapt to different markets quickly, and if you need to spin a few VMs up or websites or SQL databases, you can just do that more or less with a few clicks of the mouse in the Azure portal, and you're up and running basically. There's no having to go and provision servers, or if your internal VM farm is maxed out, you don't have to worry about finding space on that, because you've got the space there in the cloud. And it's reduced risk on behalf of the business with regards to the IT budget. As we say, it's pay as you go. You can set budget limits as well, so that you don't go. You can set a pricing ceiling, if you will, to say we don't want to be charged more than this, and at that point it'll automatically shut things down for you if you need that sort of control over the budget. So potential benefits of moving to the cloud, as we said, you can be very agile, because something changes in the business and you need to spin up a whole new infrastructure. You've got the capacity, or the capacity is there within Azure to do that, and just spin as many VMs or databases or SQL clusters up as you need. You've also got the ability to subnet the networks out as well, so you can have a site-to-site VPN, which will allow you to basically see Azure as part of your on-premises infrastructure, and you can then migrate things between the two. So the IT estate remains current because, if you look at the platform as a service offering, which I'll come on to in a few minutes, you don't have to manage upgrades to the service, because Microsoft are looking after those servers for you, so they'll manage the updating, they'll manage the failover and the keeping the uptime going so that the service is maintained, whilst they sort all the upgrades to the operating systems behind the background. And you've got reduced upfront cost of the IT because you don't have to buy the infrastructure and put it in place, which significantly reduces the timescale on projects because you can just spin them up, as we've already said. There's an aspect of business continuity around this as well, so that you can actually, if you still have an on-premises infrastructure and still want to maintain on-premise infrastructure as well as having some cloud computing functionality, then you can use it as a business continuity tool and actually back up internal VMs on your on-premises, and if your internal VM goes down, you can have those backed up into the cloud and you can bring them online in the cloud if you need to. All of this is backed up financially by Microsoft, so they have service level agreements which are all detailed online about the level of service, and I think it's 99.99 at least percent. If they don't achieve that on your on your cloud infrastructure, then they will give you money back based on that. So they're not they're actually putting the money where the mouth is and saying this is up to scratch and this will deliver what you need it to deliver, and if it doesn't, we'll refund you basically. And as we've already said, you pay for what you use, so the more stuff you put in there, the more it's going to cost you. So you just have to bear that in mind. So the other thing we can do is, obviously, if you do have on-premises, we can integrate your on-premises identity with the cloud identity as well. So users just have a single log-on basically across both environments. It doesn't matter where the servers are hosted or where the services are hosted. They just log in using their domain credentials and they get access to what they need. The idea is that it should be as seamless as possible to the user. We've mentioned about finances already, but obviously it's moving IT budgets from having to hold capital assets, as in physical servers and monitor the transactions around that. It basically means you can just fire things up when you need to, and it reduces, or if you've only got limited space in your on-premises infrastructure, then it's ideal for that because you don't have to expand your data centers and you don't have to increase stuff because you can just start moving stuff into the cloud, but still keep an on-premises functionality as well. And obviously, it's location independent, so it doesn't really matter where you are. As long as you've got internet connectivity from wherever you are, you can get your connection into Windows Azure basically. So how do we get into the cloud? Well, basically, there's two sides of it. There's having your identity in the cloud is the first thing, and having your infrastructure in the cloud as well. So and as I say, they can do a combination of both. So you can be completely have all your infrastructure in the cloud if that's the way you want to go. So you'd have all your Active Directory identities up there. You'd have all your infrastructure, including your Active Directory servers. All the services that you need to provide up there as well. Another alternative is that you keep your identities on-premise and you then synchronize those with the cloud, and I'll talk about that a little later on. But the idea is that we need to get both some infrastructure and some identity in the cloud to be able to work it all together. So now we'll move on to just having a quick look at cloud identity and what that's all about. So, excuse me. So there's three levels of what we call Azure Active Directory, which are free, basic, and premium. So the idea is that when you sign up for an Azure account, and this ties in with other services that cloud services that Microsoft are offering, so such as Office 365, Windows Intune, or Microsoft Intune as it's just been rebranded, CRM Online, and all their other cloud-based applications. So basically, when you sign up for that, you will get, as part of that, what's called Windows Azure Active Directory, and it will be at the free level to start with. And what that gives you is a domain name in the cloud, which always ends with, so it's your choice of domain .onmicrosoft.com. And basically, that's your identity in the cloud, and it's separate from your on-premises identity at this point in time. There's also two other levels of Azure Active Directory, which are basic and premium. So the free version supports all those services that I've just mentioned: Office 365, Intune, CRM Online, and most of the other Microsoft cloud-based applications. But it also supports third-party applications like Salesforce, Workday, DocuSign, Google Apps, ServiceNow, Dropbox, those sort of things. The basic offers. Sorry, just bear with me a second. I'm just struggling with my slide here. Yeah, there we go. The basic also offers group-based management as well, so you can actually put people into groups, and manage things like you would with the on-premises about who's got permission to access what, etc. You can have self-service password reset as well, and that's where you get the enterprise service level agreement of 99.9%. They're saying Windows Azure Active Directory, when you're operating in basic mode, you will get that availability from it. And then the premium offering also gives you, well, as you can see there in the box at the bottom, so it gives you group-based application access, which we mentioned is also in the basic as well, self-service password reset, self-service group management. You also get the additional things that you get are the next ones, which is multi-factor authentication. So this is primarily phone factor, so you can actually have a two-factor authentication process to get into the services if you need that level of security. You can also get Microsoft Identity Manager, which has just been rebranded. It used to be Forefront Identity Manager, and that can manage your identities for you on premises and between the cloud and your on premises, and you can have company branding and advanced reports as well. So that's the three levels of Active Directory. So it's all about managing your identities across what you've got on premises and in the cloud. So if you wanted to have seamless integration, you'd head for Active Directory Federation basically, and you'd federate your on-premises identities with your cloud identities, and that allows then a single sign-on service through into cloud services that are being offered out. And obviously, we've mentioned it can interact with your on-premises Active Directory. So this is a bit deeper into that. So as I mentioned, when you sign up for it, you will get Windows Azure Active Directory, and you will get a cloud identity, which is the onmicrosoft.com address that they're currently dishing out at the moment. So it'll be, for us, for example, mine would be Stephen H at visual365.onmicrosoft.com. So that's my cloud identity. The next level from that up is to use directory and password synchronization, which is where you're tying the accounts in together to say, my on-premise identity, which is Stephen H at visual.com, ties in with my Stephen H at visual365.onmicrosoft.com. And that links them together. That's sort of suitable for sort of medium to large organizations, but doesn't use any federation basically. So you don't get a single sign-on. You still have to maintain two identities, but you can have the password synced between those identities. So it's still the same password, but a slightly different username to log on. And then the ultimate is going to federated identity, which is where you're using Active Directory Federation services, and that gives you the ability to then do single sign-on. Because what it actually does is when you hit the portal or hit the log on to say OneDrive for Business or something like that, you hit that, it prompts you for credentials, just like it would if you were to log into Microsoft Hotmail or Outlook.com. To actually say, it's not using a Microsoft account, it's using an organizational account though, and that's the difference. So what you would do is you would put your normal username, Stephen H at visual.com for me. At that point, it would detect that visual.com is enabled for federated services. It will redirect you to a federation server, get you to type your password in there, and if you've got the multi-factor authentication turned on, you can get it to prompt you and actually, ring your phone basically, and you press a button to confirm it's you that's logging on, and then it'll let you into the service with the same credentials that you're using online, on premise, rather. So the last thing I want to look at is infrastructure as a service. So I'm just going to talk briefly around this. So basically, there's a lot of offerings within Windows Azure. Primarily around infrastructure as a service, but they've also got some offerings around platform as a service as well, but it all sort of ties in together. So the idea is that you can create Windows Hyper-V virtual machines in the cloud, and I'll do a demo of what's capable. I'll try and create a VM if we've got everything set up for that in a few minutes. You can have storage up there, so you can basically provision as much storage as you want up there, to store VMs or just to store data, databases, whatever you need the storage for, you can create it up there. You can create virtual networks. which basically allows you to, have, subnets available to you, in the cloud, and also link those through a site-to-site VPN. So it basically extends your on-premise infrastructure. So there's two VPNs that Microsoft offer out with this. One's a site-to-site VPN. The other is a site-to-point VPN, which is obviously for getting people, or a point-to-site VPN, which is obviously for getting people who might be in remote locations connected to your internal infrastructure through a VPN, effectively. But they VPN into Azure, and then obviously if you've still got on-premises infrastructure as well, they can then obviously get from there through a site-to-site VPN into your internal environment as well. And then you've also got something called StoreSimple. So StoreSimple is a file storage solution, which basically has tiered storage. So it's an on-premises application device. It's not a Windows server or anything like that, but so Microsoft bought it in, and it's an appliance that you install on premises. It has a number of disks, and it has tiered disks basically. So what happens is you have fast disk, slow disk, and then you have Windows Azure storage, and what it does is it monitors. So it does deduplication and it does compression as well, and it monitors. So say you're using it for file share purposes, it monitors the access to the files that are on those being held on the storage, and it will move it to the appropriate base tier based on usage. So if if users in your company are accessing data on a regular basis, it will put it on the fast storage. If it slows down, then they'll move it to the slower storage, but still keep it on premises. And if it's not actually being accessed very much at all, it'll then archive it off into Windows Azure. So that's what StoreSimple offers you basically. And then we've got the platform as a service options, which include websites, SQL databases, cloud services, and identity. So this is where you maybe want to host a website, and this is an advantage of platform as a service, where basically you can host a website on Windows Azure and not have the complexity of managing the server that website runs on, because all that is done for you by Microsoft. All you've got to look after is the website and the website code that it runs. So basically you just get the option to run a website, and I'll try and show you this in the demo in a few minutes time on that. So okay. So virtual networks, just to cover this off, basically you can create subnets up in virtual subnets up in the cloud, completely it's all isolated from the rest of the Windows Azure, and they're all private subnets basically. You have to have DHCP up there as well. You create your virtual network, you create your subnets, you've got your on-premises infrastructure with a router, you fire up a gateway, and basically you create a site-to-site VPN between your internal router and your gateway. So it supports various different ones. I've not got a note of them all here, but certain Cisco devices, I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but obviously, Microsoft remote routing and remote access server, that's obviously one of the key ones it supports, but there's a lot of third-party products as well. Just the last point on that, you can also, sorry, I just lost train of thought now. You can also, no, I've lost it, sorry. I thought about it, and then, then the supportability slide threw me off then for a second. So yeah, if I remember it, I'll come back to it. So what I want to do now is just dive into a quick demonstration of the Azure portal. So I'm just going to share my screen with you guys, just so you can see what I'm seeing. So there we go. Let me just pull that up. Is that coming up, Dave? Yeah, cool. Right. Okay. So I'm just going to log on to the portal. The portal is basically, it doesn't show it up there, but it's manage.windowsazure.com, and that then presents you with this log on screen basically. And we just log on. I'm going in with the Microsoft account, and I'm on the Microsoft account. So it's finding that for me. Put in. Sign into that. Oops, that's not good, is it? There we go. So this is now logging us into the Azure portal. So this portal's been in use for a while now. They are actually developing a new portal at the moment, but it's still in test. So I didn't want to show you that because it's still there might still be a few bugs around it. So this is the traditional portal that we've been using for a while. So as you can see, this is listing all items that we've currently got configured in here. So a lot of this environment is used by us just for testing and just for doing demos like this. So I'm not sure what state it's in at the moment, but as you can see, we've got a few things. So we've got multi-factor authentication turned on as a service. We've got a directory, which is our Active Directory, the Azure side of things. We've got a virtual network created, and we've got a couple of virtual machines and a cloud service as well, and an application service. So what I'll do first is I'll just run through websites for you. So we don't have any websites at the moment configured, but just to show you, it might take a while to do this, so I'll just show you from the beginning. So what you can actually do is when you come to create a new website, you can decide, so it's computer, it's website, do a quick create, a custom create, or actually choose from a gallery. And this is where Azure gives you a lot of benefit because it has pre-configured galleries. So if you want, a Drupal 7 site, there you go, there's a template for it. You want an ASP site, there's templates for it. And as you can see from scrolling down here, there's lots of different templates that they've got. So one of the most common ones will probably be a WordPress site, for example. So if I come down, there's WordPress for us. So I can do WordPress and click next. What do I want to call it? So by default, it'll give it a .azurewebsites.net name. I just need to choose the first bit of that URL. So I'm just going to, let's just do that, see if that's available. Probably not. Let's just see. Yeah, that's available, so I'm just going to do that. I want a new, so it'll actually create, because obviously WordPress needs a MySQL database, so it'll create that for you in the background. Where we're going to put it, so we're going to create a new web hosting plan, and what region do we want to deploy it in? So obviously, we're in Europe, so I'm going to choose West Europe, which is basically the Dublin data center. Then we can have all sorts of things around here about, I don't know if I need to put these in or not, I'm just going to try it without. Yeah, we can do that. So what we're going to call the MySQL database. Oh no, it doesn't look like it. Oh, here we go. Is that it? Looks like I need to put some data in here. But you get the idea from that. Basically, it's just a few clicks. Basically, if I put all of these, authentication keys and all this sort of stuff into it and just provide unique phrases there, in fact, it will let me click next and it will let me create it. In fact, let's do that. Let's actually give you a full-scale demo. So just put lets me create them all the same, that should be fine. You can probably guess my nickname by now, can't you? There we go. Let's put that line. I'm not a WordPress expert, so this is all new to me. Let's see if that lets us create it now. No, it doesn't seem to be giving me, for some reason, it doesn't seem to be giving me the option to create it, so I'm not sure why that is. But basically, as you can see, if it is configured correctly, you can just go next, and create, basically. Let's just try, rather than choose one, let's just try a standard one. So, just ASP empty site, for example. So go for West Europe again.
Can I just say something on the regions, Hodders, if that's all right?
Yep.
So just so you know, it's a bit confusing, but actually West Europe is Amsterdam.
Right,
North
okay.
Europe is Dublin, and that's just our American colleagues, even though Amsterdam is more east than, or Dublin's more west. It's just because we're the North region for the UK and the Nordics kind of thing.
See, I was applying logic there, and obviously that's not the case. So no problem. Thanks, Simon. So we'll go for North Europe instead, which is the Dublin data centre. So so we can, that's it basically. That website is created, or it's been in the process of being created now. So that's how simple it is to create an empty ASP.NET website. And then obviously once that's created, you can then go and manage it. So I'm just going to jump out of websites for a minute. I'll come back to that in a second. We'll see that that's been created, and we can browse to it. And if anyone wants to browse to it now, they can do so once it's been created. So it'll be shodson.azurewebsites.net, and obviously you can use DNS, and you can change the actual name that's presented out on the internet, so it doesn't have to be azurewebsites.net, for example. Customize it to your own domains as well. So virtual machines, so basically the same premises. If we want to create a virtual machine, we click on virtual machines, we can come into new down here, we can come over to a gallery as well, and we can choose the images that are offered out. So obviously we've got Windows Server 2012 R2 data center, Windows Server 2012 data center without the R2, 2008 R2 SP1, or we can even go down to level and say, well, actually what I want to do is deploy a Windows SQL Server 2014 box, standard, and that's going to deploy for me on Windows Server 2012, and that'll automatically have SQL installed for you once you've got it on in a default configuration. Or if you wanted to have a bit more control over it, basically you can just go for the server, the standard server install, and then deploy your own SQL on top of it, basically. And then obviously further down we've got all the third-party stuff. So if you want an Oracle database 12c running on Windows Server 2012, you've got that capability as well. It's all there for you, and there's all sorts of not just Windows. You can run SUSE Linux on this, Ubuntu server, OpenLogic, and obviously then you can run your Oracle databases on Oracle Linux as well if you wanted to. And there's all sorts of stuff available that can run. So I'm just going to set an example one running. So I'll just go for Server 2012 R2 data center because that's probably the easiest. You need to give it a virtual machine name. I'll just go sh test. What size of virtual machine you want. So this is where Simon was alluding to. You've got all the different choices that you've got. Let's just have a look. So I think Simon, you were saying there were actually bigger configurations than this that are coming online soon.
There's bigger ones there's a new G series which got announced yesterday.
Yeah.
And that is really supercomputing all solid state devices, up to 32 core, and they will be probably, I think, in next month, 6 weeks, they'll be available publicly.
Yeah, cool. So what it does is obviously when you install a Windows Server, it creates you an administrator user account. When you do it on Azure, it doesn't create you the administrator account. You've got to define your own. So basically that's what I'm giving here, and I'll just put a password in. So I think that's all right. Let's just see. Yeah. See, I've probably done this before, that's why that already exists. And we'll go for North Europe again. We'll use an automatic generator account, that's fine. So we can install a VMware agent as well, which will go onto it, which obviously is by default you will want that there. And then you've also got these custom extensions as well that you can configuration and security extensions. So if you want to deploy Microsoft anti-malware product onto it, you can do. If you want to deploy semantic endpoint protection, you can do, basically, or Trend Micro Deep Security, and you can just tick that box and away it goes. So if I click OK now, that's now going off and starting to provision that account for me. So that'll be up in a few minutes. So what I'll do is I'll just pop back to websites now and just show you this because that's now been created. So I can now go into this and I can do various things. So we can look at the dashboard, to see what's happening. And obviously nothing's happening at the moment because we've only just fired it up. You can monitor it basically. So let's just actually open another tab up here. Let's go to net. That's what we called it. There we go. There's nothing. It doesn't look like there's any actual. Doesn't look like obviously there's no content in there at the moment because it's just a blank site. But it's coming up and it's resolving the name, so we should. Give that a few minutes and it'll probably come up and say actually there's been a hit and we can see what's in there. You can there's web jobs you can assign to it. You can configure it. So what version of .NET framework do you want to use? What version of PHP, Java, all that sort of stuff in there. What domain names? So obviously, we at the moment, because we're on sort of a partner agreement subscription here, we can't actually add a custom domain name in, but this is where you would go, and if you wanted it to be risual.com for us, for example, that's where we could go and set that option in there. Diagnostics, site diagnostics, there's a whole range of things you can do it. You can scale it up, you can control your backups. There's lots of things you can do with it basically. And by default, I think with the Azure, if you were to sign up for a trial account, I think you get 10 free websites, but you can't use them with custom domains by default. So you could actually, if you just wanted to test the functionality out, you could do that for free by just using the free basic websites, and you'll get an Azure websites.net address, but it'll allow you to test that functionality out and see if it meets your needs basically. So we'll come back over in here. So virtual machine is now built and it's now starting, so that should be up in a few minutes. So SQL database is the same sort of thing as the websites really. You can just fire up a SQL database and just have that running, and what you'll get is a connection string to it. So like you would do for an on-premises SQL server, you'll have a connection string to connect to the server and to connect to the database instance. You'll get one that's very similar, except it's connecting to a fully qualified domain name that's in the cloud, and that'll let you through onto that. And then finally, I think the last thing I just want to briefly show you is what we talked about in some of the slide decks, which is networks. So this is our site-to-site VPN that we've got configured in here. It's broken at the moment, and there's a reason for that, because I think we hit our upper payment buffer on it, and it took down some services basically. But the idea is you can see there that we've got our visual network, which is on the cloud, and we've got our internal router here basically, and you configure the VPN between the two, and we can go into the configuration here, and we can probably sort that out, but I've just not got all the details with me at the moment. So connect to the local network, point to site, express route. So that's just reminded me. The thing I forgot on that last slide was express route. So express route is a way of creating a site-to-site VPN where various providers, so if you've got an MPLS network and you're using, say, BT, or in the States I think it's AT&T, and there's other sort of vendors as well that are doing this, they support this express route mode, which basically means that the site-to-site VPN is created, and it's basically an extra portion to your MPLS network, so it just forms part of your internal infrastructure. So that's the bit I sort of remembered and then quickly forgot. So that's sort of networks, and then the final thing to show you is the Active Directory side of things. So this is our Active Directory, and you can see that it's we've got groups, and all our users are in here, and this is basically as you can see, these are local Active Directory, or we've got Microsoft accounts, or we've got Windows Azure Active Directory accounts in here as well, and it's all about how we tie those together, and this is what's doing and what domains we own and things like that. And that's sort of really all I've got to show for you in the demo. Let's just go and see whether that virtual machine's up and running, because that'll be a good one for you to see. So let's just, so it's still provisioning, but it is running. So that's the DNS name. Let me just see if I can get. So you'll see at the bottom here we've got the connect button. So that's my VM. So if I click the connect button, that'll just basically fires me up an RDP file. So I open the RDP file up, and it's going to connect me on a random port that it's decided that the RDP is running on that particular port on this VM. Once that's set, that doesn't change unless you actually go in and change it yourself. Now it may or may not, because it is still provisioning, so it's not going to respond to me. What I'll try and do, so I can connect to one of these other ones, but unfortunately I didn't create these, so I don't know what the passwords are for them, so I won't actually be able to log on. Sorry, just bear with me. Just to prove it does connect once the things are provisioned. Actually, the other one's moved on now, so it might. It's installing the I don't know if you can see that at the top there. It's actually installing the extensions now. Yeah. Well, it's one of two things: either we've got the ports blocked and they're allowing them off, or they're not. The VMs are not in a state where they're allowing control. Let's just have a look here. Yeah. So yeah, just another point on that. So I think, to be honest, I'm plugged into our wired network at the moment here at Visual, and I think we've got some policies that are blocking going out on certain ports, and I think that's probably what the issue is. So it's one thing you do have to consider, that if you're putting these things into the cloud and you want to remote them, then you've got to allow ports through. But one of the things that I want to mention is that when we're going through virtual machines and the websites, all of the options that you saw in there, which were obviously, you saw that there was Oracle databases you could create and things like that, all of those third party, and the semantic endpoint protection, all that lot, that price is it all included in the Windows Azure price. There's no separate licensing that you need to get for those, and it just makes it a lot easier from your point of view, because it's a single price you pay and it's all included in there. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass you back to Dave, who can talk a little bit about our supportability offering that we do at Visual.
Can you? Oh, there we go. Thank you very much for that, Steve. I hope everyone found it as interesting as I did. Before we wrap up and open up for any questions, one of the things I was talking about at the beginning is really how important it is to be able to monitor and optimize the use of Microsoft technologies once they've been implemented. And with kind of organizations taking a step into the new world with cloud services as opposed to on-premise, it can create whole new challenges for you. To this mind, Visual have created a number of managed and support services offerings to either help with the transition into cloud. So we've got full managed services where we can either support you per application. So for some customers at the moment, we're doing kind of full managed SharePoint for them. So we'll be supporting their SharePoint servers, but also doing kind of administration tasks as well that you would expect from a normal SharePoint administrator. Of a kind of a database analyst for you, or database administrator, and more than happy to provide anyone details of what's actually included with this at a later date. With our managed services, Visual have been able to build up and work with customers not only on premise, but those who want to take a hybrid approach, or even those who have gone solely cloud. We're now supporting a couple of customers and they don't have any any servers at all on site. It is all done through Microsoft Azure. If you kind of dip in your toe, I suppose, into the cloud services, one of the easiest ways to go into it is with Office 365. And to this end, we've got a couple of different options when it comes to supporting Office 365. The first part of it is our kind of Office 365 platform administration support, and we can also act as an escalation point into Microsoft for you. So what we tend to find is that sometimes people can want kind of assistance and help with troubleshooting single sign-on. They may want to know how the user is set up and if they've actually got a license assigned to them. Again, help setting up federations with external domains, converting mailboxes to shared or resource mailboxes, and setting up retention policies. So any kind of administration tasks, if you need any support around Office 365, Visual are here and we can help with that with no problems at all. The other part of this is our Office 365 Maximizer. So Office 365 is an evergreen product. One of the great benefits of it is that you don't have to go through your own upgrade paths. Microsoft do all that hard work for you. But the challenge then your organization is, how do you know what changes are being implemented? How do you know how that's going to affect you as perhaps as an IT team, or more importantly, how is it going to affect the end users? So what we do is we can arrange for a consultant to come on site. We normally recommend once a month due to the pure number of changes that can be made in it. So I think potentially up to about 200, 250 changes can be implemented per month. So what we do is bring a consultant on site and look at how these changes are going to be relevant to your business, how it's going to affect your end users, how it could affect your kind of end customers' experience, and really how do you make the most of the systems and the services that you've put in place. So definitely Office 365 Service Management, Office 365 Maximizer, absolutely fantastic. If you are taking that step into cloud, not quite sure how to manage it, you want somebody there as an escalation point, that's where Visual can help. Now, the other part of this is obviously if you're going for a hybrid approach, you perhaps still need to support the service that you have on premise. And to this end, we have our premium support, which is fantastic and offers 24 hours a day support, 7 days a week. So any problems at all, you can give our visual support team a call, who are based here in Stafford, and the guys are absolutely fantastic. All of them have got the relevant Microsoft certifications, and again, they cover the breadth of Microsoft technologies, but the team have their own individual specialists in there as well. So as part of our premium package, again, we really believe that maintaining and optimizing your use of Microsoft technologies is more important than trying to fix problems once they occur. So if we can stop the problems happening, it's a win-win for everybody. To this end, we do proactive support under our premium agreement. So we will put things like System Center Operations Manager onto any of the servers that we're supporting. We will then do a daily health check for you, or we'll get a daily report that says, we've noticed something going on the server. Is it something that you guys are perhaps doing? You're working away on it, making some changes we don't know about? Or could this be an incident about to happen? And by actively monitoring the service, we ensure that you're getting the service that you need, your uptime's where it needs to be. And we will also do security patching for you under our premium support agreement. If perhaps you don't need to support the servers on a 24 hours a day basis, you've got SCOM installed on your servers already and you're proactively monitoring them, but what you really need is an escalation point. So your internal IT team can have skills and knowledge up to a certain point, but you just sometimes like the option to be able to give us Microsoft specialist a call, talk around the problems, because chances are our support team will have dealt with it in the past, and whereas you may have to go Bing or Google to try and find the answer, it's much, much easier, much more efficient to be able to have an escalation point into somebody like Visual. And for this, we've got our standard support. So it's during office hours, so from 8 until 6, and it's done on a reactive basis. Again, we can connect up to your servers and offer remote support, so we can try and fix the problems for you. But what we really, really believe is that Microsoft is critical to a business. Lots of really crucial line of business applications often run on Microsoft technologies, be it they've got a SQL backend or they run on Windows Server or Exchange. People need to be send emails for your organization to run efficiently. We've got support options for every different scenario. If you take workload support and would like Visual to start becoming more and more involved and partnering with your organization a little bit more, we can also offer Visual support service hours. So this is kind of a bolt-on to our workload support, but it gives you the option to give us kind of standard or routine tasks that perhaps your team are doing on a weekly, monthly basis that's time-consuming, and you really want them to spend the time deployed on the kind of more fun stuff, so the technology updates, the roadmaps, kind of investigating the different bits and pieces. So Visual Support Service Hours can be used for adds, changes, moves, anything that you want really within reason, and we can do it within work, out of work, and it all follows our change process. So you can go from kind of standard support right the way through to a kind of a mid-step to a managed service, to the full managed service where we're doing applications, again on-premise, hosted or cloud. So really there is a support option for every possible scenario. Each account here at Visual has a managed services support specialist assigned to it, so we really do want to help you make the most out of your Microsoft technologies and maintain and optimize your use. So if anybody's got any questions about support, please feel free to drop an email through to inquiries@visual.com and it will be triaged through to your particular account manager, or please feel free to drop myself an email, davida@risual.com, and I'm happy to pick up any questions that you may have. Now, speaking of questions, if Christine can take everybody off mute, if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to ask now, or if something comes to you later on, again, please feel free to drop an email through to inquiries@risual.com. Thanks very much.